Welcome to another episode of College Cash Corner. We are your hosts, Tara,
Natalia,
and Victor.
Today we're going to be talking about common financial myths related to investment and saving for retirement. Before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out to the New Media Lab who helps make this podcast possible. So let's get started.
So my myth is you need money to start investing and to save for your retirement.
So how is this a myth?
Well, I don't think you need to have a crazy amount of money to start saving. First of all, saving should be part of your budget every day. I hear very often that you need to first spend in your needs, then in your wants, and the rest goes to your savings. And it's the exact opposite. First, you set up a goal and you pay for your needs, of course, and then to achieve that goal, you might need to save an amount of money, and the rest you can spend in your wants.
Mm-hmm.
A very useful tool for this is the 50-30-20 rule that we have been talking about in previous podcasts. And the second part of the myth is about your retirement, that you need money to save enough for your retirement or to start putting money into your retirement. And that's absolutely not true. Even I think Tara has some facts about it.
If you start investing in your teen years, every dollar you invest is worth $239 at age 65. You would need to invest $35 a month to reach $1 million by the age 65. Only $35 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If you start investing in your 20s, every dollar you invest is worth $88 at age 65. That means that you would need to invest $95 a month to reach $1 million at age 65. So it went from $35 a month to $95 a month. If you start investing in your 30s, every dollar you invest is worth $23 at age 65. You would need to invest $340 each month. So it went from needing to invest $35 to $95 to $340 every month in your 30s.
So if I'm understanding right, is that amount of money whenever you start until you become 65?
Mm-hmm. And then in your 40s, every dollar you invest is worth $7 at age 65. How much money do you think you would have to invest each month starting if you start in your 40s to reach $1 million by age 65?
Like around 700?
$950.
You need to invest $1,052 each month.
Oh, well.
To reach $1 million at 65. I had the myth that said you don't need to worry about investing until you're 40. So $95 a month versus $1,052 a month.
That's a lot.
I'd rather do the $95 a month. $1,200 a year versus $12,000 a year to invest. There's, I've heard the saying that it's not timing the market, it's time in the market that makes the difference for your money. So, yes, definitely worth starting as soon as possible. And with the 50-30-20, that 20% goes to savings. Investing for your retirement can be part of that 20%.
Then to the next one, which is investing is too risky and stocks, you should never touch them.
Oh, interesting.
Why is that?
Why is that? I think it's more than people is not informed about what is exactly a stock, how does it work. It's just the fear of losing money, like money that you have been working for, and the fear of it's gonna get loose so fast because we think that a stock is something instantly, and if we see it like going down, we want to stop it and take our money out, when we need to see the big picture. We need to look at the graphs, and even if your money might go down for a little bit or for a while, if you are choosing that stock, more likely you need to make a research of what's the trend. Even if it's going down for a while, it will go up eventually. Diversification, that's so important to have different stocks, not just invest in one. In that way, you can stay safe and learn more about the stock that you're buying. So, more than being worried or concerned, there are actions that you can take to be safe.
Right. Better to invest on multiple instead of one. So that word is diversification.
I think that's key. You can invest in many different stocks individually and just have a number of them, right? Or even a mutual fund made up of stocks is the way to go also, because that's instant diversification. Because stocks, they're riskier, but that also means there's more potential for more gains and dividends with them. You have to go with what feels correct.
Yeah, and the most important thing that Antonia really mentioned is that research is key.
If you zoom out, you see the volatility of a stock, with the ups and the downs. But in general, most of that up and downward movement is moving in an overall upward movement. If you zoom in, and it's scary.
Just changing your perspective too.
A lot of financial advisors say that a majority of their job is just talking people off the cliff, so that when the market's down, right, a lot of their clients come to them and be like, I need to pull all my money out because it's down, I've lost all this money, I don't want to lose any more. And it's a lot of talking them through, it'll come back up, we just gotta kind of ride it out a little bit. I know easier said than done.
I think this is also very related with it. If you think that your investment is an emergency fund, you're making a huge mistake, because then you will freak out more for your money instead of looking at the big picture, because you're considering that money as an emergency fund and you are concerned that you will not have that money available. Either way, you don't have that money available because it takes time to take that money out of the bank. It's not an easy access money.
Right, and that's what an emergency fund should be, is easily accessible money that you can get to within a day or two, tops.
Yeah, don't combine them. You got to separate them to two different entities.
Yeah. Well, and think about it. If you pull money out of investment for an emergency, now the compound interest
is lost,
because you've taken the power out of that account. I mean, the compound interest is still going to happen, but it's just going to happen with less.
You could save it in a different savings account. You could save it into an MMA, or to a CD, something where it actually grow, but in short term instead of...
Right, and you can have multiples of those if you... Do you have any more?
I have one. I was very surprised to learn this, because I fall into this myth before too. That is that men make a better investors. I'm gonna say, I even thought that for a period of time. I think maybe women were too emotional, men are more logic, and therefore they might be good in investment. And now that I've been learning a lot of investment, I realize that that's totally a myth, and there's actually a statistic that proves this. An analysis of more than 5 million Fidelity customers over the last 10 years finds that an average of women outperformed their male counterparts by 40 basis points, or 0.4 of the percentage points. So in other words, this means that even women are performing even better than men. It's interesting to know that sometimes our own mindsets can be affecting our possibilities, even our abilities or our monetary status. Is more what we think we are capable to do.
Also, a big influence when it comes to men are better investors than women is from movies or TV shows or just media in general. Wolf of Wall Street, it's pure men.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, if you look up images for investing, look at the people that come up.
That's what I'm doing right now. Let's see.
Can I make a prediction of what you're going to find? And if there's people in the images, it's going to be mainly men, and more than likely, they're going to be white.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some photos of people inside, and it's just mostly white males in a suit.
That's the message that we're being bombarded with. Yeah, I can see why women would feel that this isn't something that I can do, but then it sounds like they do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then people of other ethnicities too.
Yeah, what's the message? It really is more what you think you're capable to do just by the images and the context and the environment that you are being affected by, than your monetary income, or you think that you can't do certain things just because of the environment that you're surrounded of.
Most often we learn by watching. So if we see people that we look up to, if they're making good financial decisions, and then we who are watching them are more likely to do those same things.
It also reminds me of a quote from sports that you could copy someone that's really successful in the sport. So say Cristiano Ronaldo, for example. it's never going to show up the same because he's different than you. What worked for him won't work for you. You got to find your own ways and metas to make you successful just like him.
I think, too, the people who are successful financially, they've done their research. They're practicing good habits. They're, when things go wrong, they look at, okay, how can I improve the situation instead of blaming others? They have a growth mindset, and they're trying to learn from those mistakes and not giving up, right? And more than likely, they had a plan, and then life happens, but because they had a plan, it was easier to get back on track. But we don't see all that hard work that happened for them to become successful. So something I have that goes along with investing in retirement, a lot of people are in their late 30s to early 40s by the time they actually go, oh, I'm going to be retiring in probably like 20 years, 25 years. I need to start thinking about this. And then they hear those stats about how much they're going to have to invest each month. And then they think, it's too late to start saving for retirement, which actually it's never too late to start saving for retirement. It just means that your savings for retirement is going to look different than people in other age brackets, because building wealth with investments need time. That's the main ingredient. Your contributions are probably going to have to be a little bit higher. Even when you do retire, your investments are still growing. It is never too late to start investing for retirement.
And never too early.
So people who could start early, like in their teens, more than like you're working part-time, really good place to start with investing is opening a Roth IRA or a Roth individual retirement account, because all you need is earned income.
So one of them is the best investment you could get is a house. Many family members say that to me, or even friends. They're like, the best way to go is a house, but in reality that's not really true, because if I'm not stable enough to actually handle that big purchase, it's just going to be a burden than a blessing or an investment or whatever the case may be.
What about you, Natalia? What do you think about that?
I think it's tricky because we think that a house is the best investment just because it's something like material, we can see it and we can like resell it, rent it, like we have different options with it. But as you were saying, it's also a responsibility. It might represent even a lot of expenses. It's a dangerous investment if you don't take the time to research about it, when there are many options nowadays to invest for your future. Nowadays, like, I don't know any student that wants to work for a company or wants to stay in one place for the next 30 years. Usually it's more that the students wants to change from job to job every 4 to 5 years, and that might include changing from state or even country, and for that you cannot be tied for a property. So I think it becomes a huge responsibility.
I grew up being told also that renting is throwing your money away. There's no equity. You're not building any kind of equity if you're renting. However, from having rented and owning, it was really nice when we were renting that if something went wrong, I didn't have to pay for it. The person who owned the place, they had to figure it out. They had to pay for that. I agree. I think what both of you have said is really important, that when buying a house, you need to have an emergency fund because things are going to go wrong. And there's things in a house that have to be replaced at some point anyway, like the roof. The AC is going to break at some point.
Like washing machines.
Oh, yes.
Fridge.
And then all the stuff that goes in it.
Yeah, electrodomestics
right?
that are in your house.
Yes. So you need to furnish it. You need to have the appliances. The refrigerator is going to die. The dishwasher is going to die. All of these appliances are going to eventually they're going to stop working, and you're going to need to replace. Yeah, definitely. A house, when you buy a house, it's not just the cost of the house. It's the cost of everything else. Insuring a house is more expensive than having renter's insurance.
So another myth that if you're going to buy a house,
it's impossible to predict the future. So if you're waiting for the real estate market to crash before you buy a house, assuming that you have a savings for that, like you're ready to purchase a house with, you've got money to put down, you've got emergency fund for things that might go wrong with the house, that kind of thing, all saved up, you may be waiting a really long time.
So now my last one is life insurance is a good investment. You hear that a lot in like medias like TikTok, Instagram, and frankly that's not true. And you mostly hear that from like IUL agents. IUL meaning like index universal life insurance.
So can you explain a little what makes that myth?
So one of them, they're not allowed to use words like investment or profit or anything like that related to the terms investment, because it's not an investment. investment, it's a risk management portfolio. So it's not even an investment vehicle, so they cannot use those words. The second one is that if you think invest your money in that type of scenario would be good, might as well just invest it to the S&P 500 or some other ETF. You're going to get way more profit from those in the long run. And that also leads to my point 3, which is that choosing a life insurance, the agents would take about 30 to 90% of your amount paid for that policy. So that means only 10 to 70% of your hard-earned money will go to the agent instead of your future value.
Wait, so then a very small percentage of that money is actually getting invested?
Yeah, to you. But if you invest in the S&P 500 or any ETF, like 95% of that is going to your future.
Wow, that's huge. That makes me think of like assets under management. So if you have a financial advisor who's taking, typically they take like 1% of your investments, that's a better deal.
Then 30 to 90%.
Right.
So say like it's just an example, right? $1,000, only 100's going to you.
Even if $700 is going to my investments, that's $300 that I worked for that's getting taken. Whereas if you used a financial advisor to help you invest in the stock market and they only charge a 1% fee, that $1,000, they're only going to get $10 of that $1,000. Before we go, we want our listeners to remember that college is your gateway to a brighter financial future. At MCC, we're here to help you master your money. Visit the financial literacy section of our financial aid website to book a one-on-one appointment, access your free cash course account, and stay updated on workshops and events. Stay informed, stay savvy, and keep climbing.